Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our monthly meeting this month, August 12th, 11th. Thank you. We're going to call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. First thing is approval of the agenda. And the motion is that the agenda for the council meeting of August 11th, 2025 be approved as amended to remove item 12.1, staff report 51-2025, the Bill 5 analysis. The Bill 5, oh, that's the motion. Can I have a mover and seconder? Thank you. Councillor Young, Councillor Burton. We're going to bring that to the next meeting, September 2nd. All right. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any declaration of interest tonight? No? Seeing none? Seeing none, we'll move on. I just want to ask, is Councillor McConnell online?
No, not yet. I'm just sending him the link to make sure that you are.
Okay. So just for those watching, Councillor McConnell's on holidays. We expect that he's going to roll in soon. No presentations, no delegations. Next is minutes of the previous council meeting. So motion is that council minutes dated July 14th, 2025 be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Kirkby, Councillor Campbell. Any questions, concerns about those minutes? Yes.
Number 11, outside boards in my report, Bob Dixon's to be recognized for 31 years of service, not 30.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? So we'll amend those minutes and I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. No communications or petitions tonight. The consent reports, the motion is that all items listed under the consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder on that? Councillor Burton, Councillor Campbell. Anything on there that you want to take out? Pretty light agenda in there. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. We do have a committee report tonight. It's PAC report 09-2025, a zoning bylaw amendment for Churchill Road East. The motion is that bylaw 35-2025 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2009, as amended, a bylaw to regulate the use of land, buildings, and structures within the town of Prescott be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. And the council determines that in accordance with section 34, bracket 17 of the Planning Act, no further notice is required prior to the passage of the bylaw. Got all that? Mover and seconder, and then we'll have Tim speak to it. Deputy Mayor Kirkby, Councillor Young. Tim, the floor is yours, I'm assuming.
Thank you. Or at least the screen is mine, eh?
Screen is yours, yeah.
Okay. There we go. So this is a zoning bylaw amendment for a property on Churchill Road. Oh, there we go. If we can go to the next slide. So yes, so this is an application for zoning bylaw amendment. The current zoning on this property is an R3 and an R2 -H1, which they're looking at creating a site-specific zone, which would be an R3-3 to accommodate the proposed residential development. The amendment will recognize the proposed residential development on a severed parcel of land, which went through consent application SEV 2025-002. That application has not been finalized yet. And not to complicate matters, because it hasn't been finalized, we're treating this as the entire lot. However, the zoning bylaw amendment is strictly for the severed portion only. The retained is going to remain in the current zone. So what's being proposed on the severed lot are 2 3-story apartment buildings with a total of 36 residential units, approximately 48 parking spaces, outdoor amenity space and parkland, road access from Claxton Terrace, and there's going to be easements to recognize the existing shared access to the rear parking at 800 Claxton Terrace, and also to recognize 7 parking spaces that are actually located on 800 Claxton Terrace, and another encroachment for a portion of the sales center, which is located at 143 Churchill Road East, that currently encroaches approximately 6 to 9 inches, or I believe, onto the subject property. Next slide. So public notice was sent out to everybody within 120 meters of the subject property. Approximately 126 landowners fell within that radius, and notice within 20 days of the public meeting for planning committee was provided. 4 signs were actually posted on the property as well too, along Churchill Street and Boundary Road. Further notice, a notice of passing will be circulated to the applicant agent and to anyone who is requested to be notified of the decision in writing, or who has signed the sign-in sheets during the PAC meeting or today's council meeting. Next slide. So public comments. To date, we've received 3 comments. 2 letters were from the abutting landowner at 800 Claxton Terrace. And there was also a petition from the residents at 800 Claxton, which was approximately 65, 66 tenants that signed the petition. The concerns that were brought up was the loss of access to the parking at the rear of Claxton Terrace, the loss of the parking spaces along the west side, which would be the visitor and barrier-free parking spaces, the relocation of the sheds and other structures. Initially, they wanted compensation, increased traffic and disruptions. There's safety concerns in regards to seniors and people with disabilities. And another question in regards to why not use Boundary Road as the access instead of Claxton. Next slide. So these will be addressed, those concerns are going to be addressed a little later on in the presentation when we talk about the actual design and everything. So the provincial planning statement provides policy directions on matters in regards to provincial interest. We did review the policies, and the proposal is in keeping with the policies that are in place, and also to provide additional housing to create housing quicker within Ontario. Next slide. The official plan, the property is designated entirely residential. The residential zone does allow, or residential designation does allow, a mixture of housing types. The proposed residential housing as the apartment complex, which would be considered a higher density type of development. However, it is in keeping with the existing higher density developments that are adjacent to the lot. Next slide. And zoning bylaw. As I said before, when we hone in on the area that we're talking about, just the zoning bylaw amendment, there is an area which is R3 and an area which is an R2-H1. The H1 is a holding symbol which requires an applicant to undergo servicing and staging process and report in order to have that lifted, and the applicant has provided that information. So next slide. Okay, so here's where we're going to cover the actual proposal and also some of the concerns that have been addressed to date. So the areas that are highlighted in yellow are what is seeking relief. The first one is the lot frontage. This is a technical matter because the frontage already exists. What we're doing is just cleaning it up here. There's no change whatsoever. The requirement is 30.5. However, the existing lot has 18.2. So again, nothing's changing. We're just recognizing what's there. The rear yard setback, 9 meters is what required. They are requesting a 6 meter setback requirement, which in looking at the development, it makes sense in regards to the large landscape buffer area to the CN corridor. So the reduction should not have any impacts or negative impacts, I should say, onto the proposed developments here. Location of parking spaces. Right now, parking is not permitted within the front yard. This lot is unique because of the shape it is, but the defined front yard is from the front lot line, which would be from Claxton to the front face of the dwelling. So that would mean where the parking is right now is technically within the front yard. So they're requesting that parking would be allowed within the front yard, which would be technically an interior side yard, but because of definition here, it's technically front yard. So staff doesn't have any issues in regards to this policy or this bylaw change. Minimum driveway width 6.5 meters. They are requesting 6 meters for the parking lot aisleway only. There was a little bit of confusion in regards to this when it was initially applied for. However, what we have done to clean up this definition, because the driveway width includes a entrance driveway and also the aisleway within the parking lot. So what we've done here is we are proposing 2 new definitions. One is to clarify what a driveway width is for this particular zone, which would be only the portion traveled from Claxton up to the parking area. The area within the parking lot itself is going to be considered a parking lot aisleway, and only that section would be reduced to 6 meters. So the driveway width would be maintained at 6.5 meters. And parking areas for more than 4 vehicles. Oh yes, abutting a street or abutting a lot line, sorry. So along that northern portion of where the parking lot is, they are required to be 3 meters or provide a 3 meter setback here because they want to try to keep the parking further away from the proposed units. They want to reduce that to 1.2 meters. 1.2 meters is a standard setback for your minimum landscape buffer strip. Anything less than that, you probably would not want to put any structures or vegetation, that sort of thing. So the 1.2 meters still would be able to provide the individual with a little bit of flexibility through the site plan control process, where we can negotiate some sort of fencing or some sort of buffering to help with the potential visual impacts from cars and their lights in this area. And finally, the H symbol removal. Again, that was put in place in regards to a servicing plan and a staging plan, which the applicant has provided. As you can see here, the orangey kind of arrows are the approximate easements where they are, which we are looking at creating through the severance process. That would take care of the sales center encroachment. The applicant did speak with the adjacent landowner, and they did not have any issues in regards to giving them the easement for the 6 to 9 inches. In regards to the access and the parking on the west side of 800 Claxton, that initially was not part of the application. However, it was brought to our attention very quickly that there was no existing easement on the subject property, and which would allow legal access to the back of their property for their parking. And also, they had visitor parking and barrier-free parking, which is technically located on the subject property as well too. So there was no easement for that. So this, through the consent process, we're going to actually clean it up and recognize the situations. So 800 Claxton is actually going to have legal, something legally on title that will actually be able to be passed on to future landowners to maintain access to the lot. Through this process as well too, we were looking at Claxton Terrace and the unique situation of both in that, I guess, both sides of Claxton have an in and out, and what the town is looking at doing to address some traffic concerns in the area is to make Claxton a one-way in and a one-way out. So the western portion would be an in and the eastern portion would be out. Through this process, the applicant did provide a number of studies, one of them being a traffic impact assessment. The assessment did not require any major improvements to Claxton or to the intersection of Claxton and Churchill. The existing stop signs were satisfactory for the proposal. It also stated that the added increase of traffic would be nominal, based on the 48 vehicles that would be tentatively coming and going from this development. Next slide there, please. So our staff's recommendation to council is that the application for zoning bylaw amendment submitted by FOTAN on behalf of the landowner, which is 2841483 Ontario Inc., for the proposed multi-unit residential development on the subject lands be approved, and that the zoning bylaw number 09/2009 and its mapping be amended as per the bylaw, and Schedule A as per the bylaw. And as you said, council determines that in accordance to section 4317 of the Planning Act that no further notice is required. So I will leave this in your hands. Actually, next slide there. I'll leave this in your hands, and you can leave this up if you want to use this for reference for asking any questions.
Thank you, Tim. We do have a few questions, so I'll start that process. Councillor Young.
Thank you. Tim, could you tell me where Claxton Terrace now ends?
Yeah, Claxton Terrace ends right, you can see right at the red line there.
Okay.
Right at the bulb. Yeah, right where the cursor is showing right there.
Thank you. So our responsibility for snow removal and the likes ends there.
That's correct.
Thank you. And during this process, since I'm new to it, I'm afraid, was there ever talk about a sound barrier?
No. So that's one of the comments that CN would be looking at through the site plan process. To date, we haven't received anything in regards to needing one. just because of the distance. That's like a natural barrier type of thing between the subject property and CN. But if they do come back and request that a sound barrier of some sort be required along CN or anywhere else, then we would speak to the applicant in regards to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Councillor Campbell.
Tim, I was just reading through that whole project, and there's talk of endangered or threatened species. Actually, they are all endangered. And I just wondered where the Ontario's Endangered Species Act comes in to protect those endangered species through this project, which part of the process?
Yeah, so that that's an interesting one, because yes, Bill 5, some of the changes that have happened, we'll get into that next meeting. But in this case, they did not deem any major impacts onto wildlife in this time. However, there are some suggested timelines when development should happen, just to address any migration, that sort of thing, during certain periods of time of the year. And that's going to be addressed through, that would be addressed through the site plan process. So any special clauses that are going to be required through either any study, we would actually put in the site plan agreement, and then the applicants would have to follow those rules and regulations.
And so again, so when does council what does council get to approve and when? Because I know when we were looking at the grocery store, I was kind of surprised that we didn't get to, it was a done deal. So does council have any kind of vote on this project?
So through there, Mr. Chair, this application right now, we're only addressing the zoning bylaw amendment. So we're just addressing the zones and not the, I guess, the sticks and bricks, if you want to look at it, of the development itself. That portion is done through the site plan control process, which is delegated to staff. And then what we do is we will provide like an information report to planning advisory committee.
Okay, so the only vote that council is getting is for the bylaw change.
Only for the bylaw change, that's correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. Tim, and Councillor Young kind of touched on it, and I know Matthew has talked it before. So the CN report will come at the next stage where they'll deem if there needs to be some kind of earth mounding, or is there fencing there, I guess, is one question. Is there fencing that already exists there? Does anybody know that?
No, there's currently no fencing that is there right now. Again, this property is kind of separated. There is a natural separation between this part. So there's another strip of property that's actually in between this property and the CN property. So
yes, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second question I have, when you showed the driveway, you talked the drive aisle. Is there any like pedestrian path shown in any of these drawings, or any kind of area that, let's say the properties north of this development close off their property to anyone coming across it? Is there any consideration in this to how pedestrians travel that roadway?
Yeah. So through this process, no. Through the site plan process, yes, we will be looking at that. To address some of the concerns that the residents have, I have spoken to the applicant about some suggestions about controlling traffic in and out, and pedestrian movement, sidewalks, connectivity to existing development, that sort of thing. We'll address that through the site plan process. And if there's going to be any internal walkways, then obviously if we can connect to existing walkways through other developments, that would be great, and it would be highly recommended to them.
Thank you. I appreciate you following up on that part of it. Last question for you is about the easements. So the easements currently at 800 Claxton are all along the south side, or sorry, on the west side. How many spots, sorry, did you say were there again? I thought it was different than what I read. Is it 7?
Yes, there should be approximately 7 parking spaces that are currently there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I thought it was 4, so. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shanker. I just had a comment. I was at the planning advisory committee meeting, and the developer did send their agents, and they could not have been more professional, knowledgeable, cooperative. I think they really showed that the applicant is willing to work with town staff and working with all of the surrounding property owners. And I was really impressed with their presentation.
Good to hear. Good comment.
Councilor Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Shaker. I was just going to make a comment as well. There was a couple concerns about a fire truck coming in, and there's no concerns from the developers, and fire trucks can come in and out. And then the open green space, it's, some of the residents there, they have picnics and outside and have picnic tables and benches. So that's going to be open to them as well. And you're right, they're very, very accommodating with this whole process. And I think it's going to be a great addition.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Burton. Good, very good. Yes,
Councillor McConnell is online now.
Okay.
I believe he has a comment.
okay. Councilor Wong?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. A couple of things in the description that I read this afternoon. One of the comments I believe that came from the apartment building is, how come you don't access this from Boundary Street? And I don't really think that's practical in this case. And in my opinion, from what I have seen and read today, this is a very good design, and I'm very happy with it. The only thing I would like to see to make sure is that there is a substantial fence at the north side of the parking lot to screen the property owner to the north from the headlights that are going to be coming in from all those cars parked on the north side of that parking lot. Apparently that's part of the next process here. But as far as the entrance from Boundary Street goes, I'm under the impression we sold this property to the developer last term, so Ray would be familiar with it. And the developer purchased the entire property from where this is located right through to Boundary Street. And the only thing that concerns me with piecemeal development like this, when we don't see an indication of what the entire development is eventually going to look like, is where is that entrance from Boundary Street coming? Because it will have to come. And how is it going to hook into this and the other parts of the property? So I think that's something that should be addressed and should be sought input from on the developer. I do have a question as well. The developer has purchased, as I mentioned, this from town last term. Do they actually own it? Have they paid for it?
And I can confirm that, yes, they have.
Okay, because as we all know, we have had a problem before in that instance when we've been surprised, at least I've been surprised, when somebody we thought had purchased the property and paid for it hadn't done so. So they own it, that's good. I like the design. I'm in favor of it. Thank you for the questions. I would like to see some input from the developer, though, in regards to a proposed entrance from boundary and how that would work into the future development of the entire area. Thank you very much.
I can touch briefly in regards to the Boundary Street. So right now, there's no plan on developing the retained portion. We've had some very early discussions with the developer about what could potentially go there, with some very rough concepts. But we would be addressing all those concerns that you've brought up and more when they're going to be finalizing a development there and going through the planning process for not only site plan, but most likely a zoning bylaw amendment as well too for those properties. So you will see something, and I'm sure council will see another application in front of them in a future date for the retained.
All right, thank you, Tim. Any other questions or follow-up? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Take care, everybody.
Hi.
Please down here. All right. Next up is the mayor's report. It's been a busy month. Lots going on. We had the opening of Shakespeare and opening of Sherlock Holmes. There was a volunteer appreciation night at the Legion in Brockville. That's usually set up by so Steve Clark has the minister of, I forget what they'd be called, but there was a minister there for that. And so I mentioned this to everybody, that if you have volunteer groups that you're aware of that could use some recognition, that's a great way to do it. There was people there that had 60 years of volunteering, 50 all the way down to 5, and maybe some students with even 1. So it was a good night. They do a really nice job, and they try and hit every community. So that was a big event. I did attend an event in Spencerville by Baldwin House. Baldwin House is a home for trafficked women in Cornwall. So they had an art display and almost like an information night in Spencerville just a few weeks ago. That was very well done. Last weekend was Sherwood Park Manor had a golf tournament to raise funds, and I did golf with a few other mayors, Mayor Burrow, Mayor Cameron, and Mayor Hoogenboom. We struggled, but we had fun. Not really good golfers there. We missed Mayor Tory. He's usually our ringer. So that was that. And then last night I had the pleasure of handing out a couple of scrolls to Dave Travis and Mike Buree for their part of building the Kinsman Amphitheater, where Eddie and the Stingrays played to 600 plus people last night. So it's a great event, a great night for them to get recognized. I know last year they recognized Norm Forche for setting up posthumously the Sunday night concert series. So a lot of great volunteers in this town, and it's really nice to recognize them. So having said that, I'm going to pass it over to Councillor Young.
Well, thank you. I have not attended any meetings. I have checked in with St. Lawrence Lodge, and our first meeting will likely be this month. And so I will bring back a report from the board meeting. I understand from my brief chat with the administrator is that they're looking forward to completing the budget earlier this year, which would mean October. And the issue with that is that they probably won't have an accurate number of funding from the government, but they will they will settle the expense side of the budget.
Okay.
I also attended many nights of Shakespeare and Sherlock Holmes, enjoyed it immensely. And I was one of the 600 plus in the crowd last night. I tried to make my way to the dance floor, but it was just too crowded to get down
Oh,
there.
okay. That's your story and you're gonna stick with it, eh?
That's all I have to report.
Thank you, Councillor Young. From one Councillor Young to the other Councillor Young.
I've been enjoying the Sunday night concerts as well. They're fantastic. A Walker House, we had a Walker House meeting. They received a performing arts grant in the amount of $25,000. So they're putting that to really good use. Lots of activities there, 6 days a week. They are going to an online registration. So it'll be a lot easier to sign up for things and sign your waivers and everything else. So that's looking good. They're going to the NAC September 13th, and they also have a book club now, so they're really busy. The King Street Promenade was a huge success. Councillor Young was there as well, and I'm sure everybody else was too. But I just wanted to expand on that, and the BIA Board of Management, they dedicated like about a fifth of their annual budget to this. And yeah, it really shows a commitment to our downtown and the foot traffic, and just bringing everybody together on that day made it really memorable. And I think we'll see even more people come back next year. We're hoping that it'll be an annual event, and I just wanted to give them a shout out because for their commitment for that. And that's everything for me.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Councillor Burton.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Yeah, I heard lots of good things about the promenade and how it was geared to kids, and absolutely fabulous. Lots going on, the psychic fair this past weekend, Shakespeare, lots of library, Monday night's concert, and we were just talking about this earlier, how we have a lot going on in our town this summer. And it's hard to be everywhere, but hoping that everybody gets a chance to take part in several different activities. A few updates. We have dead ice available at the ACCC right now. The marina, we're hosting a boaters brew this Friday, August 15th from 9 to 11, and council is invited and for coffee. So, and the summer youth rec program, lots going on there. We have visitors coming from all over, even from Montreal. They were so impressed with our beach and our splash pad and our pool and the rec center there, and that they came back the next day to visit again.
Oh, wow.
So they said it was one of the best beaches that they've ever been to. Special events that happened at our Centennial Park is our MP, Michael Barrett hosted a community barbecue. There was over 600 people that participated. Yeah, that's a lot of hot dogs and hamburgers.
Sure is.
Yep. But everybody had fun and engaged in all of the games and took part in the beach and the splash pad. So that was great. And we have our movie night coming up, and it's going to be one of Ray's special movies, Despicable Me 4. I know you've been wanting to see that. So you can come this Friday night at 6:30, right here in the grand room.
All right.
You can have popcorn and a juice box.
Sounds like a date.
Right, right. And we're doing our summer wrap-up event at Centennial Park on August 26th. So lots happening in our beautiful town.
Thank you, Councillor Burton.
Thank you.
Before I get to Councillor Campbell, I kind of skipped Councillor McConnell. So if you have anything, Councillor McConnell, it's up.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Before as you all know, I'm at Prince Edward Island, and we have actually had internet established here. So unlike other years, I will not be disappearing as it gets dark in my neighbor's porch. I'm inside. There's a light here. Got a nice fan on. But before I left town, the end of July, I did some more work out in the cemetery. I trimmed the small bushes out there. There was nothing for the town crew to pick up because I took it all to the facility myself. So the bushes out there are in good shape. I attended both of the Shakespeare plays that were being put on before I left, and I echo Ray's sentiments. I enjoyed them tremendously. The actual Shakespeare play, which they did in kind of beach attire with modern music, I thought was a very interesting take on the play. And it brought it, despite the fact that it was the old language, it brought it into the modern era. And I know the people around me enjoyed it tremendously. So kudos to Shakespeare for doing that. Leanne, I believe it was, just mentioned the marina, and it kind of jogged my memory of something that has occurred to me as I've walked through there. And this, it's probably been missing for a while. I just haven't noticed it. There used to be a weather vane on top of the Harbor Services building. And that weather vane was supplied as a donation by the Quebec residents of the marina. And the interesting part of it is that the initials were N for north, south, east, and O for west. So you could tell it was Quebec and it was French, O for Oost instead of west. That's missing. I don't know what happened with it. It probably was taken off and the roof was done. It's laying around at the works facility somewhere, but that was a donation. I'd like to see it found and put back if we could. I left Prescott and spent a week in Nova Scotia on the Bay of Fundy at a different cottage, not ours. And the only reason I mentioned it is I attended a riverfront theater over there, which would have been a great interest to the people of Prescott here because not many of you remember this, but the original plan for Riverside Park included a boat. And that boat was to face onto the break wall, and the back of it was to be in the park. We had to drop that because of cost when the riverfront was designed. But this theater encompassed an old ferry, a people ferry. And the actual center was cut out of this ferry and a theater built over it with an open decking. It was so unique. And I could just see this thing on the riverfront of Prescott somewhere. It would just fit in tremendously. It just shows the imagination that people with waterfront can have. And I know we've had an awful lot of imagination with our waterfront, but I find it gratifying to experience things like this so you can see what else is possible. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much, Mayor Shankar.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Burton, sorry, Councillor Campbell. We already did.
Thank you, Mayor Schenker. I attended a fire admin meeting last Tuesday, August 5th. Basically, for all to know, you probably already know, but there's a complete burn ban for all of Leeds Grenville now. They did some training today on the river with their pumper. Training down there. On August 19th, they're going to be training about propane fires and fire extinguishers. And then, of course, you're talking about volunteers in our town, and these guys do a lot of volunteering. So in July, they hosted MTJV, 30 kids. They helped out with camp day at Tim Hortons. They did touch a truck at St. Mark's. In North Augusta, they did junior firefighters. They attended a funeral of a gentleman named Richard Young. He was a Winchester firefighter, and so many people came from so far away as even North Bay. So that was a big event that they attended. And of course, our awards night at Town Hall, they mentioned that again because it was so impressive. We're still talking about it. So, training, oh no, sorry, not training in September, but community involvement in September they're going to be taking trucks to the Spencerville Fair, the Labor Day Fair in Cardinal, and the Labor Day Fair in North Augusta. And big news is, as of tomorrow, they're loading up the new truck from the old one. And if all goes well, the new truck will be in service tomorrow, August 12th. The old truck will still be used as a support unit. And the new truck is called Rescue 14. And I just want to add about our town, and it's not gone unnoticed. I spent a lot of time in Brockville because I work there, and people are like, wow, Prescott's really happening. So it's spreading around that it's not just us noticing all the great stuff we do, other people notice.
That's good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Deputy Mayor Kirkby.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. A little long-winded maybe tonight, but it's since July 14th, it's been a little bit.
Yeah.
So I also attended a Sunday night concert series that was Helianor, which had close to 500 people there. So another example of our Sunday night concert series. Just an acknowledgement to them and the volunteers. Great job. I did go to not Shakespeare, but Sherlock Holmes. And it was good. Really enjoyed it. And it was a solid crowd that night. I attended the barbecue for MPP Barrett, which was very well attended. Lots of kids, lots of families having fun. The King Street Promenade, I went to that, and I thought the same. What a great turnout. Just a side note, what a great collaboration between all the different departments, from the rec to the fire department to operations. Everybody seemed to be represented there and taking part. So what a great event. Lots of families and children and people shopping. I shopped myself and got some good deals at Cozy Closet. The other thing is I've noticed, I just wanted to point this out, quite a few US plates downtown. So some at the beach, several at the two Chinese restaurants, one at Chuck's, two at the pop-ups, and one parked down by Shakespeare. So, that's it's good to see, and it's something, that I always kind of keep an eye out for different plates, and something maybe we hadn't seen in a while. We're starting to pull some of them folks back to spend some money here, so that's great. And then as far as operations, just want to make note that I've seen lots of workers out cleaning from the sidewalk to the road, getting all the weeds out of there. It looks great. The streets look great. Lots of sweeping and weed eating. I heard that the ice is in, and the staff there feel it's in great shape, almost better than it has been, considering the heat and the humidity is a big one. East Street construction is progressing as expected. Phase 1 will end at Dibble, and phase 2, which will start in 2026, will extend from Dibble to James. Drove by the Seymour Recreation fields several times. The concrete is poured for the skateboarding pad and the grading, and I just found out it's in its final stage, the grading, getting ready for paving next week, potentially. Other than that, just a great job by staff. I've been down to the beach. I've kicked around. We pretty much have walked every morning for 5 weeks, and we parked down at by the divers bench. And it just looks fantastic, right? Flowers, you see the staff out. Lots of compliments, again, coming back to this council meeting from residents and visitors to the town. So great job to staff.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that can't be said enough, that all those compliments that we get, we pass on to our staff, right? Because they're doing all the work, and but it's really nice. And that's happened at Shakespeare, where I've had Americans come right up to me afterwards and say, we love coming here, and we're going to keep coming. So perfect. It's good. All right. Thanks, everyone. That was really good. Okay. We're going to hit some staff reports now. So the first one is staff report 55-2025, summer lunch program, July update from Mrs. Miller. Sam, the floor is yours. This is for information only, so there's no motion.
Thank you, Mayor Shanker. Through you to council. Tonight, we wanted to provide council with an update to the summer lunch program that was approved in June 2025. Just as a reminder, the intent of the summer lunch program was to provide free, nutritious, healthy lunches to kids ages 4 to 18 throughout the summer. And our goal was to provide 25 lunches each day, Monday through Friday. In the report in front of you, it outlines the participation and impact, our volunteer contributions, our community support through our sponsorships, the program operations and some things that we've learned along the way, as well as some feedback and some future considerations. But just to give you kind of high level statistics for the month of July, we're very pleased to report that we served 583 meals. We had 18 families registered for the month of July. We did 2 separate registrations. So July went out first, and then the August registration went out mid-July. So in the month of July, 18 families were registered. 14 of those families were from the town of Prescott. 4 of them were from outside of Prescott, but within South Grenville. Our age ranged from 3 to 18, so we're happy with that. It kind of hit everybody that we thought we might hit. And we hit 25 to 30 meals every day throughout July. Our volunteer contribution, the community jumped right on board, which was amazing to see. We've had 10 or more regular volunteers throughout the program so far. For the month of July, that equals about 40 hours. So we anticipated that we would be prepping meals from 8:30 to 10:30. We got better at that as time went along, and we got that down to an hour. And initially we had planned to use Walker House as our kitchen, which was excellent in the beginning. It was a great place to be, and it was close to the snack shack because Walker House does such great programming. That kitchen's busy a lot. So we did make the move to prep at the ACCC, which was actually a great way to maximize the use of that canteen as well, because otherwise it's vacant in the summer at this point. Our goal for sponsorships was 5,000. We received more than that, which was excellent because we were able to serve more meals throughout the month of July. So we came in at just over 6,000 in sponsorships for the entire summer. We did some of the feedback that we received that I think is important to note was all of the pickups have been at the snack shack. We had one day where we expected not great weather, so we did make the call to move to the Leo, run programming inside at the Leo, and then have pickups there as well. That worked out well. Communication was good. All of our lunches got picked up. But we did have a few people say that due to the heat, it was hard to walk down to the park to pick up their meals. So something to note as we move forward in the future and see if there's anything that can be done to accommodate that concern. But overall, feedback was fantastic. Going back to the volunteers, we do have the volunteers earlier. They've ranged from retired individuals who regularly participate in town programming. We have a regular student who's earning volunteer hours for high school commitments. We've had families with their children come in and help prepare, wow, that was incredible. And then we also have a group from Developmental Services of Leeds and Grenville who come in and volunteer with us weekly every Friday. So that's been fantastic. We visit O'Reilly's quite often, along with some other locations in town. And yeah, all in all, I think it's been an excellent initiative. And I guess we look ahead. In the report here says that when the report was written, we only had 4 families registered for August. We have received more, so we now have 7 families registered for August, which equates to 24, which puts us right at that 25 goal that we were trying to offer. We have had a fantastic summer student. Can't say enough about our summer student who has taken the lead on this program. And I think that's everything I have to say. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Thank you, Sam, for your report. It's unbelievable that we're having to feed this many children in our community. And looking at this program and how successful it is, how do we continue? We have the sponsors, and thank you for the sponsors that sponsored all these meals and all the volunteers as well. How do we continue this program for our community? That would be the next question,
Mhm.
right? Do we look at a partnership with the high school? Do we, I'm not too sure what avenue we can go.
Sorry, Councilor Byrne, are you talking about continuing it after August
Mhm.
or next summer?
Well, I'm thinking there's 583 kids left alone in July.
I know, but I think one of the reasons, not to interrupt, but one of the reasons we
Yep.
did this was because the schools were closed.
That's
And
right.
the programs that the schools provide,
Mhm,
that was missing for the summer.
mhm,
So I was thinking like more on this, it's a summer launch program, we
mhm.
keep going next summer.
Right, and I think both,
Okay.
in my opinion, I think both. I know schools provide snack bins for the kids. They don't necessarily have a breakfast program. They do have hot lunch programs, which some families can't afford hot lunch programs. But, you know, it's just something to kind of think about, maybe put it in our back pocket for now. And I'd definitely like to see it next summer for sure. But how do we still help? I guess the question is. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell?
Turning around. Not knowing a ton about this, how it came about and everything, my impression was that kids would be in the park swimming or taking lessons or. But did you find that people just came down to the park to get food and go away from the park?
Not necessarily, no. So we did have a registration-based system for this one. And so the registration for July was sold out or utilized to its maximization right away. What that did was those, from what I have seen or from what we have experienced, a lot of those families were coming down to the beach, or those kids were coming down to be in that area for the day. So it served as a great location because they were headed in that direction anyway. We did have some days where we had some access meals, and those could either because people were picking up that day or they canceled at the last minute. In those situations, we did make a donation to food bank. We connected with the library and dropped off some extra meals there that they used as well. And then we did find with our rec room program down by the pool building that we have kids in and out there all day too. So we actually used some of the excess food that we had to create an extra bin. So if kids were in the rec room and needed a snack, then they had something like that.
All right, so the park is still the best option for pickup, I would think.
It's a good location. It's certainly active. We get people down there, a lot of people down there regularly this summer. Are you thinking of another location?
No, I don't know. I just, when you said that some people found it too hard to get there, I'm thinking, well, aren't they already there playing? So if you find that the majority of them are there, then that's a good spot, but maybe if they're coming from all over town, maybe the library or something. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Deputy Mayor Kirkby and then Councillor McConnell.
I just wanted to state on the comments from Councillor Campbell. Just to be clear, I assumed the project or the initiative was for all kids in Prescott, no matter where they lived. You know what I mean, or what activity they were doing. So if there was kids that didn't make it to the beach but wanted to be part of it, you know what I mean? I was in full support of that. I just wanted to make note of that.
Thank you. Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. If I remember correctly, when we first talked about this program, Samantha mentioned that there was a restaurant downtown, and the name escapes me right now, that was already providing the service, and we were going to augment it. Have we, if I'm correct in that, have we discussed or talked to them to see how this program has affected what they were already doing?
I do know that we have seen, we have had days where we have had people come to pick up their meals, and they had, that there was encouragement that was coming from Outpost to come down to the snack shack to grab a meal. So it's been a good, they've been a great partner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McConnell. Councillor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I think too, how it all came about with Samantha will know, she was at all of the meetings too, was Judy Barry was a facilitator. And she was looking for ways to feed our children. And there was about 3 meetings, and all of this came to fruition as all of the organizations chipping in. And that's when we realized there was a lack of a food shortage over the summer months. And there is going to be a follow-up meeting in October with all of the organizations. So we hope that this is going to be something that will continue to evolve for sure.
So the Outpost, they ran a similar program as well. Another one that I'm aware of was a crock pot program, where a crock pot was provided to the family, and then they had sessions where the family could come in and learn to make a meal, and then bring that home. So we're not, we can't be the only contributor. And I think the community is recognizing that, working together and knowing what's going on is to everybody's benefit. Everybody knows.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Miller. Definitely this is definitely a great program, and, we'll see what happens in October with your next meeting and what they decide, because being a summer lunch program too, it's hard, we can't run it down there. The kids are going to be in school, so I'm sure there's smarter people than me that can figure that out. All right, so moving on, we're going to go with staff report 53-2025, senior support services CPHC community room request. So the motion is that council approve the request from Senior Support Services CPHC for the regular usage of community rooms at Town Hall at a reduced rate of $100 a day for the remainder of 2025 and until the 2026 intake number 1 community grants have been decided upon by council. Can I get a mover and seconder for discussion? Councillor Young, Deputy Mayor Kirkby. Sam, this one's also yours.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar, through you to council. This is a group that came forward in November of 2024, and council at that time did approve regular usage of the community room, the Ruth Evanson room, at a reduced rental rate of $100 per day for programming that was specific to their adult day program. They were notified of that approval, but then they decided to stay at their current facility, as that facility had made a commitment to make some updates to try to accommodate the programming needs. Despite the best efforts that were made by that venue, the facility still doesn't meet what's needed specifically for the adult day program. That facility does continue to be used for the seniors exercise and their diners club programming, but they have come forward again to see if it was possible, or if it is possible, to use the Evanson room 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, from 9 to 3. They would have a programming staff on site 45 minutes ahead and after for cleanup, for setup and cleanup. The adult day program is designed for individuals that are 18 years or older, who have diminished physical capabilities, cognitive impairment, or are socially isolated. They have the benefits there are several benefits to the adult day program. What they outline specifically is that there is an opportunity for socially isolated individuals to participate in activities and to socialize, for individuals to reach their potential with dignity, respect, and compassion in a supportive environment, and an opportunity for caregivers to attend to other needs or interests and to enjoy some relaxation. So what the request is the same as what it was in November. So it's to use the Ruth Evanson room on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8 to 3:30. That would be the total time. The requested reduced rate is the same at $100 per day. And it would be in the Ruth Evanson room with access to the kitchen and the washrooms on the 2nd floor. If permitted, they would like to bring in 1 to 2 chairs, which was a similar request to what they brought forward in November. In terms of alternatives, council could choose not to approve the reduced rental rate request. And in terms of financial implications, what we're looking at here is if council were to approve this request, it would result in an annual foregone revenue of $10,000, $10,075. But it would still generate $10,400 in revenue at that reduced rate. We don't currently book out that room. There's nothing currently booked in that room that would bump anybody else, so that room is available. And it does fit within regular staffing hours, so extra staff wouldn't be needed before or after to be on site. In terms of cleaning and maintenance, regular cleaning of the space may increase based on the additional usage, but despite any additional costs in cleaning or loss of rental revenue, this initiative does fall in line with the town of Prescott strategic plan to strengthen community health, safety, and well-being. The intention, again, from a financial consideration would be that staff would make a commitment to work with us, with senior support services, to make an application for the first intake of the 2026 community grants. That is all the information.
Thank you. Councillor Young.
Over the last several months, I've spoken to 2 participants in this program, and I came to realize how important it is to them. Perhaps it is even more important to their caregivers. And anything that we could do to support this part of our population, most are seniors, and anything we can do to help this program along, I'm going to support.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Anyone else? Councillor Campbell?
What would the current room rate be if we were?
So as you see in the report, the current rate is $26.25 an hour. So if we're looking at what that looks like, that comes to, for the week, that for the 2 days, that would be $393.75. The requested rate is $200, a difference of $193.75.
Okay. Oh, Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. We don't just pull figures out of the ether that we decide to rent these rooms in our facilities for. There a lot of thought goes into those. We have to maintain our buildings. Now, I intend to agree with Ray and I would support this, but I've also never been in favor of town competing with private property owners for rental space. So I would certainly be prepared to support this, as I believe I did the last time it came up last year. But I would be encouraging the people that do this to each year seek other accommodations in the private sector, so that we are not competing with private property owners who don't have the resources that the town has. That being said, I have no problem with this today.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? You want to?
I think there are some advantages to using this facility as opposed to the ones that they're already using. So I think we have to bear that up. We're not comparing. I understand what Lee is saying. We're not exactly comparing apples to apples.
Well said, okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? No, so we have a motion on the table. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, 12.4 staff report 54-2025, the 2025 street repaving update. The motion is that council directs staff to proceed with the plan changes to the paving and roadwork plans for 2025 as outlined in staff report 54-2025. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Burton, Deputy Mayor Kirkby, Mr. Locke, the floor is yours.
Thank you for sharing that. So the intention for the 2025 street repaving project was to do $1 million in paving of Edwards Street, the whole north segment between the bridge and Prescott Center Drive. There's two major construction projects happening within that stretch of Edward Street. There's the Wellington House being rebuilt, and there's the 199 Irvine property, the former Beaches Home Hardware site, which has now started construction as well. So the intention of staff was to fit that repaving work in between the completion of servicing work for Wellington House and before the servicing work for Irvine had begun. Wellington House servicing work is not yet completed. In fact, they have to add an additional interim interim storm sewer connection as part of that building. And then on the flip side, 199 Irvine is actually ahead of what we expected in terms of their schedule. I'm sure for those of you who have driven by, the building is gone. So they are moving very quickly. And so working with the two companies that are doing those construction projects, we're recommending that we delay that $1 million in paving work. We don't want to interrupt those two large scale construction projects. And we also don't want to complete the paving knowing that we're going to have large size, fully loaded dump trucks in and out as soon as that paving goes down. There's some risk that we're going to negatively impact the service life of that brand new asphalt. And so we feel that it's better to, at this point, delay, wait until all that underground servicing work is completed so that we're not at risk of having to tear up brand new asphalt to put in a gas main or put in another service. So the recommendation is that we delay until 2026. The preference would be to do that work in early 2026 or early construction season, I should say. However, we will continue to work with the two projects to figure out when we can do it in a way that's not disrupting those two construction sites. So with that, the budget for 2025 was about $472,000. That's the full allotment that we received in OCIF funding for 2025. So what we're recommending at this point is to do a smaller scale set of repaving projects this year, somewhere in the $200,000 range. And then we would take the remaining $272,000 and roll it over to 2026. You are able to bank OCIF funding and use it as a multi-year project. And so we're not losing anything by delaying the project. So the projects that staff are proposing, there is a particularly bad stretch on Edward Street directly in front of the high school in the curb lane. So we are recommending doing a small patchwork and overlay of that area just to make sure we're able to get through to 2026. We don't want to do more than we have to because that work is going to be a Band-Aid that is then replaced next year. The two provisional items that we included in the original report from a couple of months ago were the intersections of King and St. Lawrence and the intersection of King and Ann. We are recommending that we move forward with those two projects in 2025 as they're not impacted by this Edward Street construction. And so what we would look at is a full milling of those two intersections, which would include the interlocking stone crosswalk areas and allow us to regrade the entire intersection. And so we would mill out the entire intersection and then the whole intersection would be asphalt. So we would have painted asphalt crosswalks there as opposed to interlocking stone. Additionally, again, because we're delaying the Edward Street project and we have some additional budget available, one of the items we want to look at is the town-owned parking lot adjacent to Shoppers Drug Mart on King Street or in between King Street and Water Street. The worst area within that parking lot is the north side. So we specifically want to look at like a phase one type repair where the parking stalls and the drive aisle on the north side only, we would remove the asphalt, we would regrade and pad out the granular material, and then we would add new asphalt and 2 new lifts of asphalt there. So that way, by doing it in that type of phased approach, we would have the north entrance closed only, but the other 2 entrances could remain open during construction. The main entrance to the building would remain open. It's only the essentially the north stalls that would be impacted by us doing that type of repair work. So again, when we look at those basket of projects, we're looking at a budget total in the $200,000 range. So in terms of budget implications, we would be looking to roll over about $272,000 to next year. We expect that our OCIF allotment will be in the same, in a similar range next year. So our best assumption, we'd be looking at somewhere in the $740,000 available in 2026 to do paving projects. So obviously we would look at that $1 million in paving of Edward that we're delaying, but we would also have additional money available if we wanted to move forward with additional paving projects.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Locke. Questions from the floor?
I think this is a very clever idea.
Yeah.
And
Makes a lot of sense.
fully support it. I would even ask if we could consider one step further. The north side of that parking lot is a disaster, trip hazards galore. The south side is not that bad. Could it just be repaved? As opposed to what we're going to do on the north side?
Yeah, so if again, sorry through you, Shankar, if we thought that, yeah, so you're seeing a lot of pitting of the north side. So if we're not seeing that as badly in the south side, it's certainly, we could look at either a mill and pave, like a shave and pave, or potentially just adding one lift on top. So yeah, if we think the granular is good enough, we could.
And then it's out of our hair for a long time.
That's right. It's definitely something we can price out.
Good. I got you, Councillor McConnell. I just have a quick question. Is the OCF funding that we get, OCIF funding, do we have to use it in a certain amount of time?
In 5 years.
5
So you
years.
can bank up to 5 years, but we're only talking about a switch over in 1 year.
No, that's perfect. Okay, Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Certainly the putting off Edward Street with the construction back there only makes sense, and I'm glad to see we're not going to do that. The amount of complaints I've had over that parking lot downtown over the last year or so have been incredible. So I agree with Ray. If we can do the whole thing, do it. If it's impossible, then by all means, the complete renovation of the north side is certainly a benefit. As far as the two intersections on King Street go, is the plan to take out not only the north-south interlock walks, but also the east-west interlocks on both sides?
That is the intention, yes.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Councillor McConnell. Deputy Mayor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shankar, just going back to the parking lot. Currently, there's interlock dividers between the north and the south. Would we be eliminating that?
The intention at this point is to keep those. We're just basically everything north of the interlock is what would be replaced. I don't know what your follow-up question may be, but I do think at some point we could look at the redevelopment of that space as a whole. But in terms of what we proposed today, it was just to kind of limit it. We're trying to do it in a way that's not disruptive to the to shoppers and to the other people who use that parking lot. And so to just basically come in and do a large enough piece that we're getting a lot of work done while still allowing a lot to be used.
So if I may, I'll give you my follow-up, because we are removing interlock in a lot of places. The only improvement, in my opinion, besides removing interlock in that area in the future or whatever, what makes sense, is also eliminating the front, I guess it would be the north side of the Christmas tree that's kind of boxed in there with interlocking.
So you pretty much lose altogether, I believe you lose 6 spaces. If you could just go down to the main tree and remove that other 2 barriers that sit out in front, you would gain 3 spots on the north side.
Yeah.
Something to consider.
Well, I know parking is
Is it a
hot topic.
high right now in downtown Prescott?
I can't go too far without getting that question, so.
Anyway, that's just as we move forward and removing interlock in places that where it becomes more maintenance than it's worth, it may be something that we consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McConnell, follow up?
Yes, Mayor Shaker, thank you. We've heard a lot about our asphalt repaving program, but it didn't occur to me until a few weeks ago, actually, that I haven't heard anything about any sidewalk program for this year. Typically, we spend anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 a year on our sidewalks and cutting out raised edges and replacing sections. I haven't heard anything about any program to do that this year. If I've missed it, I apologize. If I haven't missed it, I would like to know why.
Sure, yeah, I can speak to that one. So there was a fairly large concrete contract that was awarded last year to redo some King Street intersections. The lights, as part of those, came in very late in the year. We were redoing sidewalk panels, but also replacing some traffic light furniture to switch to black. Those lights didn't come in, I think, until December. So the electrical work wasn't completed until very late in the year. And so the contractor pushed the concrete work to 2025. So that the 2024 concrete work is not completed yet. And so we have sort of been holding back on releasing the 2025 work until the 2024 work is completed. However, the area that we're looking at for 2025, there is a stretch of sidewalk along the waterfront that begins at George Street. So beginning at George Street, running to the east, the sidewalk is right along the rock wall down at the water line. We're seeing a significant amount of washout underneath that sidewalk. So if you walk that stretch of sidewalk, especially if you are sort of out on the rock wall looking back at the sidewalk, you can see that we've seen a significant amount of washout directly under that sidewalk. And so our main area that we want to make sure that we hold back some money for this fall is to make that repair. Our concern is that further washout may make it unsafe to operate machinery, like to plow snow on that sidewalk. And so our focus for this year is going to be to rebuild that area.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I don't do it right now, but when I'm in town, I walk on that sidewalk at least twice a day. The sidewalk itself is in excellent shape, except for heaving right on the corner. But you're right, it is washing out underneath it. The problem that's washing out underneath it is the capstone that is the barrier along the water in that area has sunk. The old pilings are letting go, and that large capstone is sinking. So fixing the sidewalk is not really fixing the problem. The problem is you need at least one and possibly two layers of heavy capstone all the way along there and then fix the sidewalk. Otherwise, you're just throwing money away. Not only that, it is, I would have to say, dangerous for our people if they were to plow a sidewalk along there because of the drop off when that capstone is actually sunk out of sight. It's quite a drop there. So I would think that having a look at the capstone, which is going to be a far more expensive project than just fixing the sidewalk, would have to go hand in hand with that repair. And we can't just use rock that we've blasted out of the sewers like we've been using up on the south end of Centennial Park. This is huge, large, very large stone that has to be brought in. It's expensive. So I would think that should be looked at in conjunction with any repair down there, actually in prior to any repair. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. McConnell. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right. Next one is staff report 55-2025, alternative voting methods for the 2026 municipal election. The motion is that council authorizes the alternative voting method of internet and telephone voting for the 2026 municipal election, and that council further direct the clerk to bring forward the necessary bylaw to set out the voting methods for the 2026 municipal election. So before we discuss that, let's just have a mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Kirkby and Councillor Campbell. All right, Ms. Preston, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar, and through you to council. This is council's first report on the 2026 municipal election. Stay tuned for many more to come. The first decision before council this evening is the type of voting that we're going to look at for the 2026 election. This comes forward after our regional clerks meeting where we got together to discuss whether we would go or how we would source out our election materials. We do that as a group so that we can maximize on saving opportunities and look at regional connections and consistencies across the board. It was brought forward at this meeting that all of the regional clerks will be bringing forward a motion and reports with regards to internet and telephone voting. Following the provincial election and the federal election very recently, there has been a number of reports come out about the best standard of voting. Council will note that in both elections, paper ballots were conducted, but tabulators were used in both elections. So you'll see within the report that that is an option that is before council. However, it is extremely expensive. It is the highest bar standard in terms of confidentiality. However, the next one after that is internet and telephone voting. In 2022, in the last election, council did a combination. At that time, they had approved both paper ballots and internet and telephone voting. That was maximized by most of our voters. Only 600 paper ballots were utilized in the 2022 election. You'll note that there are a number of considerations, both positive and negative, for all of the potential votes. Council will note that there are three main areas that voting is done in Ontario: electronic, which is by internet or telephone; paper ballots, with or without tabulators. Without is not the recommended practice, as there is some variability and potential for fallibility; and then vote by mail, which is by far the least used option and not the recommendation before council this evening. You'll also note that the other consideration brought forward in this report with regards to our recommendation on electronic and telephone voting is the accessibility features that have been brought forward with electronic voting. We've come a long way since we started electronic voting, and now the electronic vote, which is typically conducted on a platform such as an iPad or a touchscreen computer, it looks identical to a ballot. It allows anyone with visibility or hearing deficiencies to be able to conduct their vote in a respectful and dignified manner that doesn't allow them to always have to ask for help. And in many jurisdictions, a lot of voting feedback that's been received, especially by senior populations, is that they appreciate the electronic voting more so than the paper ballots, because it also allows them to confirm their vote before they cast it with a paper ballot. So there's a second level of, are you sure this is what you wish to do, or was this the choice you intended to make? So there is a second level of confirmation that does allow for, the slip of the finger, oh, did I click the wrong one? Was I nervous and selected the wrong one in my haste of voting? And so there is that second layer of confirmation in that. The recommendation before council this evening for cost savings and for accessibility reasons is the exclusivity of internet and telephone voting. That does not mean that we would not still conduct in-person voting. In fact, our ability to conduct more in-person voting would be increased by exclusively using internet and telephone voting, because the setup for that type of voting or polling station is significantly reduced. Whereas when we're setting up paper ballots, there is additional setup requirements, confidentiality setups, and constraints that are required. So it's staff's intention that if we would go exclusively with internet and telephone, we could increase the number of locations that we access voters in Prescott to hopefully have a higher voter turnout. Council will note that all the single tiers in Leeds and Grenville have gone exclusively to internet and telephone voting. Our neighbors, both in Evertsburg, Cardinal, and Augusta, will be hearing the same recommendation within this next month. And all the clerks have made the same motion to councils, or recommendation rather, I apologize. You'll note that our neighbors to the east in SD&G have gone exclusively internet and telephone voting since 2006. And so they have not gone back to any paper ballots since then. I will happily take any questions from council. The floor is yours, and I'm happy to take direction on what type of bylaw to bring back.
Thank you, Ms. Preston. Deputy Mayor Quickby.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. Chloe, maybe I missed it. Did you have a number on how many voters we had total in the last election?
It was just over 3,000 if my
Okay, so 600 is paper ballots.
That's not how many voted, that's the possible.
So we have a potential voter, yes, you are correct. The 3,700 approximate potential voters, I believe the number was in the just above 2,500, but I can get the exact figure. But only 600 were cast in paper, and all of which were on the voting day because we only did paper ballots.
You're right, that's still a significant percentage.
Of the people that voted, right? I guess the other question I have is, the municipal elections are tied to the school boards.
That's correct.
Is there any impact to them, or do we even have to?
You don't have to consult them.
Perfect.
You conduct it on their behalf.
Yes, thank you. So there's no feedback there, none needed.
No, it would be worth noting that, for example, in a school board election, someone could run for their zone for, say, the English Public Board that would have a multitude of different voting methods because of the number of municipalities that zone may encompass.
Yeah.
So a voter voting in the school board election in Prescott and in North Grenville and in South Dundas, because I believe that's the same zone, if I'm not mistaken, may conduct votes differently. So there may be 3 different voting methods that exist. Yeah.
And so if we did a hybrid, and I'm just talking about and looking for, I guess, some answers. If we had, if you have paper ballots, then all that work comes together. Like that. You know what I mean? If you still offered, I guess you'd probably have the same turnout. You'd still have that 600, you know what I mean? That in person, which I guess when you say staff will be here, we would, I'm assuming, have iPads and stuff set up.
Yes.
And staff would be there to help or direct people through that process.
At this point, I can't say whether or not the individuals that voted by paper ballot voted because it was an in-person option.
Right.
Or because they truly desired the paper ballot itself.
Right.
I also was not here during the last election, so I won't pretend to make that assumption. However, I have worked through a municipal election. I did provide support to a municipality that did both paper ballots and electronic. The municipality that I was in was exclusively electronic and had been that way since 2002. Which was a much larger population that included 7 hamlets as well that had to be serviced. And so it was the best means to access the people, including having pop-up locations throughout the advance voting period to bring the votes to the people, to make it very easy for them to access.
So that was going to be my next follow-up. So we'll have the equipment here for people to come and cast their vote. I believe in the last election, like Mayfield and St. Lawrence, Wellington, thank you. They weren't able to cast votes. Would these tablets be able, or something to go to them facilities to get votes there?
Yes. So it is a requirement for us to attend the retirement centers. I believe some of the difficulty in the last election was that we were in COVID and that there was a lot of outbreaks. And so when we had outbreaks, if you had one during the election, you weren't able to attend to cast votes. So it does give us a lot more flexibility. We've discussed the options of, moving it around town to whether or not the ACCC would be an option for an advanced voting day, whether Walker House would be suitable, going down to the Leo, really moving it around so that we bring the votes to different populations and different groups within the community. It's more difficult when we look at casting paper ballots in all of those locations. And if we were to seek, if council were to direct us to do a hybrid model as we did in the 2022 election, the only facility that we could entertain that in paper ballots would be this one, which staff could still do. It would just be that this would be the only location to cast a paper ballot. The rest would have to be exclusively internet and telephone. There is significant considerations for confidentiality, privacy, and containment of the votes and the ballots themselves to ensure that they're kept secure and safe once they're cast.
So when I hear of other municipalities that have been doing it since 2002, 2008, there's several neighboring communities doing it, I feel a lot more comfortable going that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor McConnell?
Oh, thank you, Mayor Shanker. My question was going to be the first thing that popped out of Justin's mouth. How many people voted in the last election? And I don't think our clerk, being new, is certainly as an excuse for not having that figure. But Matthew, who is our magician on the computer over there, I'm surprised you couldn't come up with it in about 30 seconds.
I believe it was in and around 1,300.
Okay, so if that's about what I thought. So when you say only 600 people voted by paper ballot, that's like 40-some%, which is a big proportion. It shouldn't be discounted. I've always been of the opinion that we should be making it as easy as possible, offering as many options as possible for our people to express their opinion. So as far as eliminating paper ballots go, I'm not in favor of it. If we have 600 out of 1,300 people still using them, I don't think it should be in our best interest or theirs to take it away. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor McConnell. Councillor Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I think the opposite, that we should definitely not do the paper ballot. It's time consuming for staff. I mean, the vote is over and then they still have 2 hours of counting the ballots and recounting them. I think the internet and phone is the way to go. People now, when they call a dentist or a doctor's office, please press 1 for English or French for number 2. They know the process, right? So there will be a process when you pick up the phone and you say, okay, this is the process, follow the direction, put in your PIN, and they can do it while having a cup of coffee and watching their favorite program at home, right? I think that to me eliminates accessibility because they can easily use their computer or their phone at home. I think we'll hoping to see more people going out there and expressing their opinions and voting. Right, for this method.
Thank you, Councillor Burton. Anyone else?
Ms. Preston, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Shankar. It's also worth noting that we've had very close elections. So there is a higher degree of scrutinability in terms of electronic voting. I know we've had a few positions that have fallen within, a 10 vote variability. And so it's worth noting, not that I discount any of council's thoughts around the table. It's just worth noting that we've had some very close elections. And so when we take the human element out of the counting process, and I do not discount that paper ballots with tabulators are the highest level of effective voting, and that comes from the province, it comes from the federal government. That's how they both do their elections. And so I acknowledge that and I agree with their findings. I do acknowledge that that's not a mechanism that's available to us. One tabulator is $20,000 to rent for the election. That's our entire budget. And so it's not something that's available to us as well. We'd be very low on the totem pole in terms of rentals. They're usually scooped up pretty fast by our much bigger and larger neighbors who need those tabulators. So I don't discount any of the comments around the table. I just note that we will take direction however council wishes.
Thank you. Councillor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I think like given the demographic of Prescott, I think there's a real shyness to use electronic voting, especially with the older population. I see that in our workplace too, and gradually they are all coming around to the electronic. The other thing is it's kind of, you know, oh, I went and voted. And I think having a place where people can say, oh, I went and voted means something too. And I think maybe that's why some people were using the paper ballots, because they could say that and it was habitual and, you know, the signs were up and yeah, I went and voted. So I think as long as there's somebody, a help center to help people use the electronic devices, and given the financial implications, I would be in favor of the electronic voting.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Myself, like a couple of things that Ms. Preston said about being in different locations, being able to go to the nursing homes, being able to go to Leo, our Walker House, our Prescott Place, that and being able to securely allow people to make a vote without having to have human error or destroyed ballots, you know, like it, and you did say there were some very close votes, and I don't know how many ballots were destroyed in the last election, but I know at the provincial level, I've helped out there, and at the federal level, and there's always a significant number of ballots that get destroyed. So this will eliminate all that. We'll have enough staff to help each individual that needs help with it. And maybe we get a better voter turnout. 1,300 is pretty low. So that's something, and we're saving money. And if all our neighbors are doing it too, you know, we got to get with the times. So I'd be in favor of that as well. All right. Seeing no further hands, I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
What's the question?
The question is, I'll reread the motion for you, right? Council authorizes the alternative voting method of internet and telephone voting for the 2026 municipal elections, and the council further direct the clerk to bring forward the necessary bylaw to set out the voting methods for the 2026 election. Okay.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
That really doesn't say anything about paper ballots. What you've been discussing, which I'm not in favor of, is eliminating paper ballots. And I think if you're going to move a motion, that you should include the elimination of paper ballots as part of the motion. Because I'm in favor of what you just read, but I know the recommendation also includes the elimination of paper ballots. And when I look at that part of it, I'm not in favor of it. So I would vote in favor of your motion, but I don't vote in favor of the implication. So I think the motion needs to be amended.
So wait, I'm a little confused, sir. If we amend the motion, you're not going to vote for it?
No, what I'm saying is, read the motion again, please.
Sorry,
Ms.
Preston.
Ms. Preston?
Through you, Mayor Shankar, to Councillor McConnell, I think what you're referring to is the exclusivity of alternative voting. Am I correct in that?
That's correct.
So if the motion were amended to say that council authorized the exclusive alternate voting method of internet and telephone voting for the 2026 municipal election, that would be the motion for which you hypothetically would vote against, if I'm understanding you correctly.
well, you're correct in both cases, and that clarifies the motion, certainly in my mind and in anybody else's that would not be in favor of eliminating paper ballots. That's acceptable to me.
So are we amending the motion?
You may do so.
So amend the motion to add exclusive?
To add the word, the council authorizes the exclusive alternate voting.
Okay. Is that okay with the mover and the seconder? Mover and the seconder?
Oh,
I think you were the seconder.
yes, that's fine, but I have another one more question. Yes, I have that.
You always do that to me when I call
And
the
you never let
question.
me ask. Chloe, would you have like a set night of voting like we do with paper and advanced polls and all that kind of stuff?
We've been that's the next, one of the next reports that comes forward to council is our advanced voting schema, or the timeline rather. And so we've been looking at having a bridge of just over 1 week of time frame, including one entire weekend. So we would have exclusive weekend hours and then a period of late nights. We do have a council meeting in there that we would have to look at how we would staff a voting station. But we are looking at just over a week of advanced voting, including the bridging of one full weekend of voting hours as well.
So if people wanted to come in, they can come in, they're just not putting an X on a piece of paper,
They're
they're
just touching a dot on it.
all right, iPad, thank you.
Okay, so do you need me to read the motion again? Right? No,
I'm okay.
you're good? All right, I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carries, thank you. All right. Next, we've all been waiting patiently for this, is staff report 56-2025, a financial report for the first half of the year, and this is from information only. Matthew, the floor is yours.
There's not a lot of changes from May. Obviously, we're continuing to receive our Ontario Municipal Partnership funding. Most recent one being in July. Last payment will be in October. And then the taxes have gone out and people are starting to pay their taxes. They're due September 1st. We realize September 1st, well, is on Monday, is also Labor Day. And so people will be forgiven until the 2nd as well. From a protective services standpoint, the permits for building tend to happen in the second half of the year. We're very happy to say that we did receive the application for the new grocery store, the building permit. So that's exciting. Will be issued in the next couple of weeks. Demolition permit had already been issued, and as mentioned earlier, it is moving forward at a very quick pace. When we take a look at some of our other revenue areas, we don't have any concerns other than our interest earned on excess cash. So we do have payments, however, we're waiting on from the province, approximately 970,000 for the arena build, which is the pullback amount, and then the next progress payment for the water tower in the amount of 2 million, as well as the fire truck loan of just shy of $1 million. We're just waiting on that approval from Infrastructure Ontario. So we're not expected to meet the $100,000 budget. However, we'll meet enough of it that the variance can be covered in other areas, be supported that way. From an expense perspective, we moving along, there's no major concerns. The only area that we're slightly above at this point is in the planning and development side, and part of that's economic development corridor. They send their entire bill in the first part of the year, so that's already been paid, as well as there's fairly heavy spending on our tourism and events in the May, June, July timeframe. So that's obviously majority has been spent at this point of the year. There's no significant expense variances that will affect the total expenses at this time. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any further questions for Mr. Armstrong? All right. Thank you very much. That's it for our staff reports. So no resolutions, no bylaws. No notices of motions, no new business. We're gonna go with the mayor's proclamation. Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas prostate cancer is the most diagnosed and prevalent cancer among Canadian men, accounting for 1 in 5 of the new cancer cases in men. And whereas it is expected that 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime, and whereas the majority of prostate cancer cases are in men over the age of 50, and whereas prostate cancer is the 3rd leading cause of cancer death in males, and whereas almost all prostate cancer is treatable and in many cases can be eliminated when diagnosed early, and whereas Prostate Cancer Foundation Canada asking municipalities across Canada to help raise awareness by lighting up recognizable monuments in towns and cities in blue. Therefore, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Prescott does hereby proclaim September 2025 as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month in the Town of Prescott, and supports lighting up the clock tower in blue for the month of September to help raise awareness for prostate cancer. All right. Any media questions tonight? No? No closed session. So confirming bylaw, that bylaw 36-2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on August 11, 2025, be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Moved by Councillor Burton, seconded by Councillor Campbell. All in favor? Thank you. Next up is adjournment, that the meeting be adjourned at 7:50 p.m. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kirkby, seconded by Councillor Young. All in favor? Sorry, Tracy Young. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Sorry, did that make you close?
Wait.